3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Hello, internet world. Wow, my picture is really bad right now, but that's okay. Welcome back to the show. It's been so long. Okay, so, as you can see, this is my new apartment. Not really. My apartment where I live is over there. But I didn't want to make a video in my room because my grandma's watching TV. So, I'm gonna do it here in my car where I have my own personal bubble and shit. Alright, so, oh yeah, guess what? I was at the store today. I better keep this, to the point because my battery's on 25%. But look at what I found at the store. I had to buy it. I'm trying to drink less, but less doesn't mean none. You know what I mean? It's all about moderation. So, yeah. Malibu strawberry. You guys seen this? I haven't seen this before. Today is my first time seeing it. So that's why I had to buy it. Alright, if Malibu wants to sponsor me, I'm working freelance now. So, I make my money here and there. Yeah. Ooh, that is nice. Alright, yeah, Malibu, you want to sponsor me? I might be 30, but I'm still sexy. Fuck all those people that think that us, AFABs ain't hot past, mid-20s or whatever. Anyways, where was I? So, this is a story called Carly Saturn. It's fucking long, too. I didn't know I put this much into Carly Saturn. Look at all these fucking fat sex pages. That's all one story, and it might even be in a second notebook, too. I'm not sure. But I don't remember very much. All I remember is it's about a pop star. So, let's get into it. And I don't remember how old I was when I wrote this either. 18, maybe? I don't remember. Anyway, alright. Too soon, he came up from his bow. The blood rushed into his neck, striking him dizzy. The crowd, down there, out there, the massive crowd that seemed to stretch out forever, the blurred bodies and wispy faces turned before his swimming vision. He smiled, he grinned broadly, pale gums bare to all of them, to every last one in the very back row, with sweat dripping from his china nose, and gossamer hair, I love that word gossamer, and skinny wrung neck. Oh my god, they still love me, a dead, dried water rat dog like me. I love them to death for that. They're the best, they're all the best. He stared out against the lights with those dilated eyes, the lights that turned everyone in the beyond to black shadow. I love you, he mouthed. I love you. What do you mean I'm not getting paid? The other man was walking briskly. His shoe steps sounded crisp and hurried on the ground. He was trying to get away. Well, Carly had something to show him. He followed in hot pursuit, growling inside. You're not gonna rip me off. What do you think I mean? The other man answered back. He threw the answer back over his shoulder like something he was done with. You can't just do that, came Carly's cracking voice. What do you want me to do? He muttered. Carly maneuvered fast around a few other people in the hall, people going the opposite way as him, careful to stay on this man's heels. I want you to pay me, what do you think? Both paces seemed to quicken, the pursuer and the pursued. Carly found himself nudging past strangers and pounding his feet on the floor to keep up, while the other man seemed to mysteriously glide along, always keeping just out of reach. Carly's breath came in short huffs with effort and frustration. You have to pay me. I don't have to do anything, was the answer. A careless answer. He didn't even turn his head, and for a moment, Carly's pale eyes glowed wide in surprise, but not for a second did it slow his pace. What do you mean you don't have to? You have to. What if I just quit? Now at last the man stopped. A sharp, almost abrupt stop that seemed to bring the whole hallway to a close. Carly almost felt his childish tennis shoe squeak against the slick, gritty floor as he braked himself to a stop. The man chuckled. You can't quit. Watch me, Carly spat out, seething. Watch me. You hear that out there? I'm the only one with a connection to those fans. You can't do a damn thing with them without me. They'll do what we tell them, he answered. Just like you. Ooh. Carly lay on his bunk, his face to the wall and his back to everything else. He had a little window in the wall by his bunk, Venetian blinds and all. They, too, were shut. It was a poor consolation, like that little window. He hated the taste of shame, and now that bitter bile seeps into his mouth again. Maybe I was older than 18 when I wrote this, because it doesn't seem as stupid as my usual shit. When he thought about it, he hated it all. This bus, this bunk, the electric instruments they played on stage, their manager, their maid, and all the people in between. People to stroke you, pamper you, care for you. People to check the sound of your guitar or bass. The money. The only way not to be disgusted was to not think of it. And in times like this, he couldn't help but think of it. Nothing between himself and that shame, and every small, straying thought just brought him closer to it. Yes, he benefited from it. Didn't he? Wasn't he kept warm, well-fed, medicated? Oh, God. It was like a life support of sorts. That was it, a life support. But in the most primitive sense, when that support is in reality nothing more than a tether, a binding of hands behind his back, that those hands might somehow harm himself in scratching for knowledge. He was bound up like an infant in a cradle, blanketed and spoon-fed, and in its way it left him in that position, that terrible, shame-flooded position of not being able to complain or object to anything. This is some in-depth shit. Outside, he could hear the voice again. Carly's resting in there. He's not feeling well. He propped himself slowly up on his elbows, gradually bringing himself partially upright on his bony forearms. He moved his skinny boy face to the window and brushed the blinds with the cheek just under his eye. What? Who was that? Possibly it was the tour manager, or a roadie playing bodyguard for the night. They could easily sleep on the bus, but the bus had no running water, and Clyde and Siva were both dying, complaining their little hearts out for a shower. Come on, Carly could hear Siva's little voice, broad and clear. His tennis shoe footsteps pacing up and down the bus as Carly lay in his vegetative state, facing the wall in his bunk, white hair draped around his face, curled in a half-fetal position. Carly sighed. Come on, Siva whined. We want to get clean. We don't want to sleep in our sweat again. Clyde, too. Clyde, don't you want to have a nice shower and a real bed? Siva, can't you just tough it out? Jean, the manager, said, the only one who knew better than to treat them like royalty. No, the doll whined like a child, very tiny. A little smile flickered on Carly's mouth. Siva, he was cute. The fans would say Carly was the looker, but in Carly's own opinion, his boyish looks didn't matter for much. Siva was the one, with that nose and those teeth and those big brown eyes. Oh, he seemed so young. Carly shifted a little where he lay, tightening up his fetal position just a little bit, just a little jerk, and Clyde saw it and he looked back at Jean. Come on, let's go to a hotel. Carly's freezing. Jean stopped inside. Okay, he said, if Carly needs it, he muttered. Carly. I tell you, I'm sick of the guy. It's always about him, Carly said to himself. Low down in his head. I'm fucking sick of hearing about the son of a bitch. Let's have another drink. I like this story. I'm glad I didn't throw it away. I knew there was something about this story I remembered liking. The bus parked outside the hotel, and Siva threw his arms tight around Jean. So excited, like the little thing was. He squeaked and squealed and bounced on his heels. And he was not a small man. He's not? They keep saying Siva's a little tiny guy. He was lanky but tall, and with all his force he nearly lifted little Jean off his feet with his monstrous hug. Wait, was it Jean that was the small one? Oh well, whatever. Clyde was more suave. He was one to tip his hat to Jean. smile and utter a subtle thank you while the manager massaged his bruised shoulders, and Clyde followed a bouncy and running Siva into the hotel's front lobby. "Alright, you guys," Gene says as he hands over the keys to the giggling, bouncing Clyde and Siva. They wasted no time, but quickly snatched away the little key and went racing off as if it were an amusement park, not a simple hotel. "You're bunking with me, Carly." Carly turned his head just a small bit to just look at him, a skeptical expression, as he stood there, teetering on his feet, eyes fluttering shut like a child awakened from sleep to go dodging through the rain, and pulled, dragged along at the end of a parent's hand, matted, bed-headed, and packed full of bad spirit. "I'll take my own," Carly grumbled in a low tone. Gene let a derisive laugh slip from his mouth. "Not a chance." "Fine then, I'll sleep with the roadies," came the aggressive spit reply. I didn't say that very aggressively, but you know. "You're with me," Gene said sternly under his breath, but firm. They're doing a little power play. The standoff between himself and Carly in the empty late-night hotel lobby, no one around to witness their small grapple for power. Oh, right there. Except the distracted receptionist. Yeah, isn't that so fucking awkward? Like, I was in the store today and this kid was throwing a temper tantrum, and I'm just like, okay, pretend like you didn't just hear that, you know what I mean? Do you have your medicine? Oh, they're drugging this guy up. Okay. Well, he did say that, didn't he? Tight-lipped Carly gave him a glare, and his hands were already stuffed into his pockets, clenched into fists. He didn't answer at first, but Gene had him with a stare that didn't let up, and eventually the word emerged from his mouth, begrudging, humiliated, and bitter. "Yes." "Alright, let's go then." Gene turned to head down the hall. There was something so sweet and glowing, glorious about that moment. What? Gene's back was turned just for that second, and there was the hotel door just behind them. How easy it would be to just run. It's so funny how, like, for people my same age and, like, in the same subculture as me, like, I always think about this sometimes, but, like, you know, like, for a generation before us, when we were little kids, right, elementary school, it was like, there was like the idea, oh, there's this fantasy that, you know, it's unattainable fantasy, but it's like that little kid's dream of, or just not even dream of, but assume is gonna happen, where it's like, you know, you're gonna grow up to have like a nice house, and you're gonna, I don't know, just like this expectation that, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have this great life, this great house, this great marriage, and like these great kids and everything, like kind of like that just the 50s like thing, you know. But then for us, it was like this expectation that, like, we're gonna wind up like being babysat like this, like we're all gonna like go crazy or something. It's gonna just be effortless. It's just gonna happen. We're just gonna be diagnosed some kind of crazy, and then we're gonna have like this therapist babysitter that's like always there for us. We have like power play. It just basically gives us a chance to be like a bad kid, like to have power plays with them, to be like, no, I'm not gonna obey you, and to fight them and run away and do all this shit to say like, hey, I'm better than that. I can do whatever I want. I don't have to follow your rules, and push back and have like that fun of pushing back, you know, and showing like I can overcome the rules. Fuck the rules. Fuck like I'm gonna break all the shit, you know, and I'm gonna go crazy, and this person just kind of have to put up with my crazy, you know. And then then when you grow up, it's just kind of like, oh, you kind of realize how ridiculous that was, you know what I mean? Like, that is just as ridiculous as thinking you're gonna grow up to be a princess or something, you know what I mean? I mean, honestly, it's the same thing, you know, but just a different, like, image, you know what I mean? Just a different, like, thing on top, but down low it's the same thing. You just want to be pampered and have someone always pay attention to you, always have your needs in mind, and basically just be there to take care of you and what you want, to be thinking about you and whether you're okay, and really to not have a life of their own. Or I mean, they do, but it's kind of like you don't see it, you know what I mean? But I don't know, like, I just think about that sometimes. There's definitely this expectation, not among everyone, but like I said, people in the same like subculture as me, you know, all the dark children, you know, and shit. Like, there was just definitely this idea that, like, yep, it's gonna happen. I'm gonna come of age, and it's gonna be my time, and I'm gonna get to enjoy this, and I'm gonna be the bad one. I'm gonna be the one that breaks through. I'm gonna, like, spit out my pills, and I'm gonna hide them under my tongue and spit them out, and then I'm gonna, like, just climb out the window of the crazy house. I'm gonna go out, and they're all gonna be looking for me, and I'm gonna be like, fuck you, ha ha ha, I'm better than everyone, and they're all gonna be chasing me and paying attention to me, and it's just like, then you grow up and you realize, like, even just to have a second of that kind of focused attention is at such a fucking premium. It's absolutely ridiculous, you know what I mean? But that's the thing. I'm really curious, my nieces, like, when they grow up, what kind of dreams they're gonna have and shit like that. But, okay, let's keep going. Come on, again, Jean's voice was hard and stern, as tight as the grip that suddenly clasped itself around Carly's arm and eased him along with a soft tug. It broke Carly from his reverie. That's another word I used to like to use. Damn it, so close, but it wasn't really. It was just that illusion of closeness that taunted him in that way. Come on, softer that time. But by then, Carly had already given in. His body had turned and he was walking by Jean's side, letting Jean sink into being the parental figure he so often infuriatingly became. Well, hell, poor Jean. He was only the middleman, the bringer of bad news, the enforcer of unfair laws, but not their creator. He only did as he was told, and there was real care in his voice. That was partly what got under Carly's skin the most. Yeah, it's kind of what I was talking about. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's just kind of like taken for granted somebody's going to pay attention to you, that say like, oh, get off my ass, you know, and stuff like that. And at the time, it's like, makes sense, because it's like, yeah, there's people that are on your ass, you know, or maybe not on your ass, but you see them on other people's ass. You're like, everybody should just leave us alone, leave us the fuck alone. And then it's like, 10 years later, oh, look, everybody is leaving everybody the fuck alone, and they don't care, even if you die, like, honestly don't care about anything, you know what I mean? And then it's kind of like, wow, I almost wish somebody would get on my ass again, just, not because I like somebody on my ass, but just because it's like, just this nihilistic, like, nothingness is just kind of like, wow, like, I want something even just to push back on, you know, like, I don't know, it's weird to take away everything and just be like, alright, fine, you fucking don't want anything here, go into the sensory deprivation chamber then, you know, and it's interesting, honestly, you know, but that's where we are, but yeah, creep to the room without incident and sleep, that was now the new objective. But even as Carly walked at a dirge, obediently, at Jean's side, he was aware of the hallway, and the widened eyes of a random passerby. They were still too close to the stadium. It was a patron of the show. Man, you know what I miss? I miss being a kid and having, vocabulary of the week. I used to love vocabulary of the week. I mean, not love it, not as much as I loved, like, when we got to do creative writing once a year or some shit like that. But I liked vocabulary of the week, and some of those words I wound up fucking putting in my story, like incredulously was one of them. I use that word all the time. I still kind of use that word sometime, once in a while, you know. And I think dirge was one of them too. I learned these words and then I'm like, oh, let me use that, you know. It's so fun when you can make up your own sentence, and I always make them some sick shit, like, I don't know, just some sick shit. I can't think of it, but it would always be something to, like, please myself, you know. It was a patron of the show, as greased with money to stay in this particular hotel as the sweat that coated her lithe body. I don't think I'm using that word correctly, but whatever. But a fan all the same. A fan of the very same concert he had just finished. A screaming, panting, leaping fan. and even just seeing with vision through his hair, he could recognize the tall woman stop, turn her Impala-like face towards his own and Jean's hustling forms, and he saw the fire leap into her eyes like a deep gasp. Oh, look, it's 20 minutes. Oh, but this story's interesting. Okay, next time there'll be more.